The top section for the king and queen to sit in. Much nicer than
Now, of course, we're talking about the time of the Scottish Wars of Independence, and during that period, the castle was actually captured by the Scots. It's a long, complicated history. I'll simplify it as much as I can. Edward I, King of England, wanted to control Scotland, so he took control of all the castles and put soldiers in every castle in Scotland. Robert Bruce, King of the Scots, decides to retake his country. So what he does is he gets his army together and he moves around Scotland, taking back each castle one at a time. Now, they captured Edinburgh Castle in March 1314. Incredibly enough, how they did that was a group of Scotsmen climbed up the rock, Edinburgh Rock, roughly where the 1 o'clock gun is. And if you're down in Edinburgh tonight, if you look back up the castle, that's the seal of rock they climbed up. The rumour has it that the way they were able to do it, one of the young lads that worked in the kitchen had a girlfriend in the town, and he used to climb down the rock every night to see her and climb back up. And he showed them the way through the rock to get to the top. They opened the gates, and the castle was once again in control of the Scots. Now, you might think, having captured Edinburgh Castle, perfect place for the Scottish army to make a base, but no, Robert the Bruce ordered the castle to be knocked down, so it couldn't be used again by the English soldiers. The only building that survived was the chapel, so the chapel's probably the oldest building in Edinburgh. That only left one castle in Scotland controlled by the English, and that was Stirling Castle. So Robert Bruce's army heads to Stirling Castle to lay siege. The King of England hears of this, gathers his army together and marches into Scotland to try to stop them. And the two armies met on a flat open field in front of the castle called Bannockburn. I'll spoil the end for you, the Scots won the battle. Now, after a number of years of conflict, eventually Scotland once again became an independent nation. Okay, I mentioned I was dressed as a Scottish foot soldier. As you can see, I'm not very well equipped. I wear a tabard or a surcoat and a tabard. The tabard tells you which knight or country is fighting for. If I could afford it, I would cover myself in this stuff. Mail. It's basically thousands of links of metal. This is markers of your head. But basically, if you can afford it, you cover yourself in this stuff. Now, people often ask, how on earth did you manage to get around? Oh, sorry, wait a minute. There you go. Is that good? Is it heavy? Yeah, it's real heavy. You could wear it, though. You could be a soldier. Now, the idea was covering yourself in this stuff. You want to try it again?
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, it is heavy.
Now, how you get around this is basically you have a full vest of chainmail, legs over your head, and you wear it for 3 hours a day and walk around the castle doing basic chores. What happens is your body gets used to the weight. So when you're actually called to go into battle, it's like putting on a heavy coat to a soldier. It wouldn't be as dramatic as it feels to us today. How they kept it clean? Well, that was rather unique. If the knight comes off the battlefield, it's all rusty from the blood and sweat, and he takes it off and gives it to his young squire. He puts it into a barrel of sand and pours vinegar in the sand, seals the lid and rolls it round the courtyard. Inside, you can imagine the sand is taking off all the rust. He now takes it out, sweeps it down, ready for the fighting the next day. So that's what you wear to protect us from the various weapons I'm going to show you. So we'll start off with this. This is a medieval broadsword. A sword like this would be used for chopping arms, legs and heads off. It's not used for stabbing. Don't want to stab someone with a broadsword. If you push a blade more than 4 inches into a human body, it's hard to get it out. The last thing you want to do is to stab someone, have them wriggling about the end of your sword, and you have to keep doing this all the time. So it's much easier to chop an arm or leg off and carry on to the next one. It's great stuff. Now you'd also, of course, have to have a dagger. Now, this is an English knight's dagger. I'll show you this because you can see how well they were made. It's handcrafted. The round thing at the top is called a counterbalance. A poor Scottish soldier like me could not afford a dagger like that, so I would often make my own. What I did was I got a broken piece of sword and used something very common in Scotland for the handle. Would anyone like to guess what the handle's made out of? Handle, well done, yeah, it's a deer's antler. Bottom of a deer's antler, easy to find in the Highlands, makes a good firm grip for the handle for your knife. And the other important piece of equipment is your shield. Now, we're talking about 1314, so they could not produce large sheets of metal, so it's a wooden shield to fight with. Coat of arms, to give you indicating who you're fighting for. Then you place the dagger into your hand like so. Now, on the battlefield, soldiers taught a simple technique. If he's defending a position, he stands with his shield to the front over his knee to get away from his enemy. If he's attacking, he leads with his sword arm to cut and slash. If he faces a man on horseback, he might swing a sword or axe towards his head. Instead of blocking with your shield, you block it with your sword, and taking your dagger, you stab the horse. The knight falls from the horse, lands upon the ground, and you chop him into small pieces. So these are probably the most traditional weapons, but there were other ones as well. I'm going to show you some. Then we've got a mace. This one here. Big heavy metal thing for smacking people in the head with. This is very much an English knight's weapon. The English prefer this style of mace. The long piece of wood is because he's on horseback, so he's swinging it down below to hit the men below him. You'll also see a pointy bit, and there's some debate what that was there for. I think because English knights were very polite, it was to get your attention before he would hit you. They simply go, excuse me, and then whack you on the head. But the Scots, they like to use a mace as well, but not one like this. They prefer to use this one. Now, this is called the Morning Star or a Holy Sprinkler. As you can see, it's a cast iron metal ball on the end of a chain. How you used this was you swung it around your head. You wait until your opponent comes close and you smack it down towards him. There was a disadvantage to this weapon. Should you miss your target, by the time you brought it back, you may be close enough to stab you. So a tremendous amount of skill was involved in using a weapon like this. Now we come to the King of the Scots, King Robert the Bruce, and he's famous for this, the battle axe. If you see a statue or a portrait of King Robert the Bruce, he's normally holding an axe. Now this is unusual, but as a king he should carry a sword. It's a symbol of power and wealth. But Bruce preferred what we call a commoner's weapon. And the reason for that was he was a warrior king, and he led his men from the front. During sieges of castles, he found it was difficult to use a sword in a staircase or a ladder, and he went over to the simple hand axe to fight with. It then became his most favourite weapon, and you never saw Bruce without an axe upon the battlefield. It can be used by one or two hands. This bit here is simply for chopping up, and that's for punching holes in chainmail. Although that's quite a nasty one, there is still one other worth mentioning, this. And this is called a war hammer. Now, it's a crow's head war hammer. If you look closely, you can see the head of the crow. There's the beak, the eye, and the plume. Now, this is the kind of weapon that a soldier like myself would carry in my belt. But if I was faced with a knight in chainmail and armour, I was very outmatched unless I had this with me. First thing to point out, of course, this chainmail doesn't always protect you. It's designed to stop you getting cut. It doesn't stop you getting injured. If you can hit that man hard enough, it might bruise or break a bone. But if you look at the hammer end, it's not a traditional hammer. It's shaped like a tower. And the reason for that, of course, is to actually pierce the chainmail. Of course, through the links of the mail, so you can reach the man inside. This bit here is for stabbing with. And then you come to the beak, and that's to pierce the armour. When we're talking about armour, we're not talking about full armour. We're probably talking about shoulder guards, band braces, and helmets. That's the most the knights would probably have. But this would actually pierce them in a close fight. And the reason it's shaped like the beak of a crow is so you can pull it back out once you've actually struck him. Now that's the nasty ones. Let's go for the simplest of ones. And that would be this, the spear. Now, this is the typical kind of spear that a guard standing at Edinburgh Castle would carry. It's a little over 6 feet tall, and the reason it's that length is so the guard can move around the castle. If it was any taller than that, he'd never be able to get through a doorway if he was ever called to assist the king. However, if he goes to battle, he goes into a regiment called a schiltron, and a schiltron would carry spears over 12 feet long. To imagine that would probably be something about that length. And the idea behind the schiltron regiment is to form like a wall of spears. So when the enemy would attack you, the men would form this line of spear to hold them off. So that's for the basic one, but now the important one. This. The war bow. Used by the Scots, English, Welsh and Irish. Now the bow is made from ash or yew. The bowstring, well this one's made of very fine cloth. And this is a 40-pound bow. What I mean by that was it would take 40 pounds of pressure to pull and fire it. Most men fired 100-pound bows, and they could fire an arrow 270 yards. Two ways of loosing an arrow. If you were defending the castle, you would fire directly at the people attacking. But if you were attacking the castle, you loose the arrow into the air. It travels over the wall and lands into the courtyard where the defenders are. But the bow is only part of the weapon, the other part is the arrows. Now, we have 3 arrows to show you. This is a hunting arrow. Would anyone like to guess what kind of animals we hunted in Scotland 700 years ago? Don't say dinosaurs. Deer, yeah. A little girl yesterday said sheep. I tried to explain to her that's not hunting. What's that? So deer, boar, wild boar. You've been pretty good. Can we get the last one? One more. Another important animal we don't have in Scotland now. Wolves. Wolves, thank you, sir. Wolves. Now, believe it or not, Scotland had a tremendous wolf population. In the time we're talking about, wolves were very common in the Highlands and all over Scotland, really. It wasn't until the 18th century before they finally killed off the wolves. But in the Highlands of Scotland, in the period we're talking about, they had an annual wolf hunt. They would go out every summer and hunt the wolves down to try and bring their numbers down. So that's what they hunt them with. But then, of course, we've also got this. This is called a bodkin. You can see it's a very, very thin one. And the reason, of course, it is so thin, it's designed for the male. The idea is to fire this at the night. He's wearing chainmail and he thinks he's quite well protected, but the bodkin goes right through the limbs. So even if you're wearing chainmail, it's not going to protect you against a good archer. But there's one other arrow we have to point out. The scariest of them all, this one here, is called a swallowtail. I'll keep you off from the heel. Quite a horrific weapon, as you can see. Now, the problem is this, once it went in, very hard to get it out. But I'd say if you were hit by an arrow, you may survive. Unless it hits your heart or lung or a major organ, you might get away with it, but what will kill you will be blood loss or infection. And the infection comes from the mud taken into your wound. An archer can fire 12 arrows in 1 minute. To do that, he must stick them in the ground close to him. So when he pulls that arrow out of the ground, there is mud on the arrowhead. That's carried into your wound. Either if you get the arrow out, the infection later might kill you. The real question is, how did they get the arrow out of you? Any suggestions?
Pull it all the way through. Pull it all the way through.
Someone always said, do you see that too? I've got to tell you, people say, well, push it through. I've got to tell you, that's a Hollywood invention. Yeah. You would never actually do that. Can you imagine you've got an arrow sticking at you, your mate comes up and makes that suggestion. I was told someplace the best way to do is to push that right through your body. Well, there's an old trick that goes back to the Romans, and the Scots learnt this trick. This is a medieval first aid kit. What you do, first of all, you take this thing out, it's called a probe, it's like a pencil. You go up to where the arrow is and you probe the wound. Now that sounds pretty nasty. You're trying to work out what kind of arrow is in there. When you discover it's this one, you take from your bag some of these, the goose feathers. You take the goose feathers that are trimmed down, and with the help of the probe and the line of the wood, you follow it in like so. So you push them into the wound like that. Now remember, this is still sticking in the man. But if you imagine that's the wound now and you push those in, you can actually pull it back at the way it went in. It doesn't catch on the skin. So that's about by putting goose feathers in and pulling back at the way. Not by pushing it right through. Don't ever do that, it's very dangerous. Now that just leaves one weapon to show you. We've saved it to the end. It's this thing. This is called the Scottish Claymore. Originally it was invented to cut through the chainmail in armour. It's a two-handed weapon, which meant you could not carry a shield. So the top half part of the sword, 7 inches, was razor sharp, but this part was blunt, and it meant you could grip the blade. The idea was if someone tried to hit you with a sword like this, you could grab a hold of the blade and use it like a stick to block the blow. When your enemy's sword landed here, you could use the cross piece to knock his sword to the side, then use the metal pommel to smack him on the nose. He then falls back upon the ground, you whack him with the sword, and the oozing entrails stain the heather. Enjoy your evening meal. Now, the question we're often asked is how did they carry the weapon around? The first thing to expel as a Scottish Claymore is 6 pounds in weight, about 3 kilos. Anyone that tells you a sword is heavy, he's never held a proper sword before. The weight is not a problem, it's the length of the blade. For if you wish to carry this around with you, you can't stick it in a sword belt. It's dragging on the ground as you walk. And you can't carry it on your shoulder like this. You're walking down the high street with the rest of your friends and somebody talks you from behind. And you've chopped somebody's head off. So you had a thing called a baldric. This is a large piece of leather that slips over the blade with a rope from the top to the bottom. You put the sword in the baldric and wore it on your back like so. If you're ever attacked, you take it off your back, remove it from the scabbard, use it for the fighting. That's how most people used this weapon. There's another man used it slightly differently, and his name was Mel Gibson. Some years ago, Mel Gibson did a film called Braveheart. You may have seen this film, but I have to tell you, Mr. Gibson got many things wrong. However, he did do something that nobody else could do. And if by chance you ever see the film on television, watch out for this. You'll see him running into battle with a claymore on his back. And halfway through the scene, he draws it out of the baldric like that. But it's physically impossible because your arm would have to be 4 feet long to get the sword out. And it rules Mr. Gibson out. He's only about that tall this month. No, you took the sword off the back, you took it out of the scabbard before you would use it. Now you might think when men stopped wearing armour, there would be no need for such a weapon. But incredibly enough, the Highland clans of Scotland fought with this till 1715. Bear in mind they're using muskets and pistols for that period. The Highlanders still prefer to fight with this. They believe the last time it was ever used in major battle was at the Sheriff Muir, just outside Stirling in 1715. But certainly it's a legendary weapon that's still very much pride of the Scottish Army. Well, hopefully this gives you some idea about some of the weapons and equipment of a medieval soldier. If you can think of any questions, just ask. I'll happily answer them. But I'll let you continue your visit off the castle now. You've been a nice audience. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.